Testing 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. This is the first ever episode of the Utah Stories podcast. I got to introduce you to my dog, Joey. This is Joey, my 3.5-year-old Irish setter. He's somewhat the focus of this episode. This is our legal marijuana episode in Utah. It's probably going to happen. It's 64% approval rating right now in the polls of Proposition 2. And if it does happen, we will be able to get prescribed marijuana here in Utah and use it for medicinal purposes. So the reason I bring up Joey is because this guy had seizures. Started about a year and a half ago, and it was terribly scary. He would seize up, just go like this. We were extremely scared, and he was getting them very bad, and we thought we were going to lose him. It was really difficult to go through. And then my wife heard about CBD oil, cannabidiol oil, and it came from pot. And I actually didn't understand that CBD oil had been legalized in Utah. I thought she was buying it on the black market, and I was, hoping we weren't going to get busted, but we'll do anything for your dog. And so we proceeded to use CBD oil, and since we've been using it, no seizures. It's really been amazing. And don't do that, please. Thank you. And Joey's realized the benefits from it. And so I did some research into this topic for the last 4 days, and I want to share all of my findings with you in this episode. I want to tell you how it appears there's been a cover-up over the effectiveness of marijuana in treating epilepsy. And I want to start by showing you this Salt Lake Telegram. Salt Lake Telegram was a newspaper. This was published in 1949. May 5th, 20th of May in 1949. The headline, Marijuana Leaf plays epilepsy cure role. I don't think they were using the leaf. My guess is they were actually using the bud, and the person who wrote this article didn't understand that. But this researcher named Gene P. Davis of the University of Utah discovered that marijuana cured, not helped, but cured half of the patients she tested with epilepsy. Found to be 50% effective. So it appears very bright, because if they created a whole, not one new drug, but a whole new field of compounds to combat epileptic seizures, this would be amazing. So what happened to Dr. Gene P. Davis and her research? I cannot say that I know what happened, but I would love to research it and spend more time on it. And in the next episode, I'll get back to you on this. But let's look up when pot became illegal in the U.S. So the history was that the Marijuana Tax Act effectively made possession of marijuana illegal. So just doing some cursory research of marijuana in general, it was used as a medicine in China for thousands of years. The medicinal properties of marijuana are not new. I was really actually surprised by this because I have friends and cousins who use pot. I don't personally like getting high that much. Occasionally I've tried it, but I don't really like it. But so I had my cousins telling me and my friends, oh, this stuff is medicine. This really, really makes us better people altogether. And I said, yeah, that's really convenient to call what's getting you high a medicine. And but it turns out there is incredible evidence out there showing the medicinal value of marijuana. So let's begin by looking at a video from a scientist out of Israel who's tested marijuana for cancer treatment. Let's hear that video now.
If you will open a medicine book from 1920, and I did it in Portland half year ago, you will find out that the whole chapter is dealing with cannabis and illnesses. So think about it, it's crazy. For 5,000 years, it was the major medicine for mankind. And in the last 80 years, it just disappeared. And to check how it affects cancer, we find out that there is a specificity between the types of the cannabis and its ability to attack cancer cells. Cannabis number 1 will kill colon cancer, but will do no harm to prostate cancer. But cannabis number 2 will do no harm to the colon cancer, but will kill the prostate cancer.
All right, amazing stuff. And now I want to get into why is it, I want to answer the question for all the LDS viewers or even non-LDS viewers. Why was it that in 2012, when Mitt Romney was running against Barack Obama, he was so vehemently opposed to legalize marijuana back then?
I think marijuana should not be legal in this country. I believe it's a gateway drug to other drug violations. The use of illegal drugs in this country is leading to terrible consequences in places like Mexico and actually in our own country.
Okay.
I oppose legalization of marijuana.
And today, Mitt Romney believes that marijuana should, in fact, be legalized for medicine on a federal level, and it should be regulated by the FDA. How did things change so much from 2012 to 2016? So how they changed was primarily three things, and why it's on the ballot today in Utah. Primarily three things. This young girl named Charlotte became famous nationwide because she was the first patient who had severe epilepsy, where her doctor was recommending she start possibly getting tranquilizers designed for horses to stop her epilepsy, where she was the first patient to get medicinal marijuana reduced into cannabidiol, CBD oil, and it absolutely changed her life. It absolutely worked and made her from this, and check out this video here, into this, a little ballerina like every little girl wants to be. It was incredibly effective for her. That's what paved the way for Joey and other patients to be able to get legalized CBD oil. However, marijuana is effective for so many other things besides just seizures. It has a tremendous impact on patients who have Parkinson's. Check out this clip. This is a guy with without his meds, and this is how he looks when he's taking his medicinal marijuana.
Okay. Under control.
There's no question it works for Parkinson's. It works for glaucoma. Patients who can't see, who use it, they can see using it. It helps. So how does marijuana work in the body? I studied this just a little bit. So we have inside of ourselves what's called the endocannabinoid system. We have this system where our brain is constantly producing cannabis compounds to regulate our memory, to regulate our appetite, and our sleep. Those three major functions of our body are actually regulated within our body in our endocannabinoid system. And so our brain is naturally producing cannabis all the time. So therefore we have all these cannabinoid receptors in our body. And so the central nervous system greatly responds when you feed when you give it these hundreds of different kinds of cannabinoids. There's hundreds of different chemical compounds. We hardly understand much about the difference in them. For example, I saw another TED Talk where the guy who was talking about it said they had discovered one particular strain of marijuana where it had only a 20-to-1 ratio between THC and CBD, but it was highly effective in treating kids with severe autism. And it worked incredibly well in these severely autistic children in getting them to respond to be calm. You know, kids with severe autism, they're often violent. You often can't even relate to them. They have to be in special centers. They gave these kids this special treatment, and it totally reduced their autism. But they didn't identify the active ingredient. They didn't know what it was. So when they tried to reproduce a similar strain, they were not able to do that right away. Whether or not they eventually found the active cannabinoid that was working, I don't know. But it's a fascinating subject to research, and I've really enjoyed getting into it. So this is the reason why the Mormon Church, Mitt Romney, and everybody believes that cannabis should be legalized for medicine in a major way. However, Proposition 2 in Utah, if you're a Utahn, and if this is before November 6th, I hope you'll listen to this, because this is how and why Proposition 2 is going to get butchered potentially by the Utah State Legislature. I hope it doesn't, but this is what it's looking like. So let's visit a website called libertasutah.org. I recommend everybody go and visit this website. And let's take a look at the Utah Medical Cannabis Act. This is actually the bill being crafted, which is a compromise between Utah Patients for Legal Cannabis and the LDS Church. And the Libertas Utah, just a little bit about them. They're funded by tech entrepreneurs from Overstock.com and a former guy from Omniture, operated by a guy named Connor Boyack. They are a libertarian think tank, and they've been pushing for legal marijuana for 5 years. So we can see here the general description. This bill provides for the cultivation, processing, medical recommendation, and patient use of medical cannabis. So I'm not going to make you read through all this, but let me show you what's in this bill. So line 356, what you need, this is under the section of what you need to have in order to become a medical marijuana grower. I found this kind of surprising. You need to have $250,000 in liquid assets available for each cannabis cultivation facility for which the applicant applies for, or $50,000 in liquid assets available for each cannabis processing facility or independent cannabis processing laboratory. So you got to have 50 grand liquid or $250,000 liquid, basically just to apply to grow marijuana. So what does that do? It basically eliminates the ability for small farmers to enter into this arena. Another thing they determine inside of the bill is they do not want to allow for local farmers and outdoor cultivation of marijuana. So that's going to eliminate a huge amount of potential that excellent Utah farmers could enjoy. And I don't like that. They're changing the Proposition 2 in that way. Let's look at another part of the bill. Here is what needs to happen if you want to be a dispensary owner. You have to have on staff a medical cannabis pharmacy agent. That means an individual who is an employee of a medical cannabis pharmacy who holds a valid medical cannabis pharmacy agent registration card. But what does that mean? Medical cannabis pharmacy agent. I had to look into that because they're not going to call these dispensaries. They're called medical cannabis pharmacies where they're going to dispense it. So that means a medical cannabis pharmacy shall employ a pharmacist who is licensed under Title 58, Chapter 17B, Pharmacy Practice Act as a pharmacy medical provider. That means that you want to open a dispensary, either you got to be a pharmacist or hire a pharmacist, or what I believe is probably more likely, just as Mitt Romney said, he wants medical cannabis to be available at CVS and Walgreens.
The right way to go is to say, let's legalize medicinal marijuana with prescriptions and prescribed through or filled entirely and exclusively through a pharmacy like Walgreens and CVS and so forth. That's the right way to go. This particular ballot initiative is not the right way to go, and I hope the people of Utah take a careful look at it and recognize how dramatically this could change our state if we were to support this particular initiative.
Probably CVS and Walgreens will just turn one of their existing pharmacists into a medical cannabis agent by getting them certified. What is the big disadvantage of this to Utahns who want to receive medical marijuana? Well, if you consider a pharmacist, pharmacists have to keep track of hundreds, if not thousands of drugs. It's not an easy job at all. They have to know what drugs don't work well together. I mean, they have to basically confirm a doctor's prescription that these drugs you're being prescribed are not going to interact in harmful ways. They have so much to keep track of already. So we're going to put onto their plate, in addition to all those drugs, that they've got to keep track of all the innovations, all of the updates, and all of the strains of medical cannabis. In addition to that, I don't think that that's realistic, and I don't think that's the best solution for Utah patients. The better solution would be you have a certification process for people who want to own dispensaries. You make it difficult, but you have their sole focus be on medical cannabis. You don't have them also focus on heavy narcotics, all sorts of drugs related to diabetes, your heart, your lungs. I mean, there's so many drugs out there already. It would be much better if the medical cannabis people focus on medical cannabis only. And so what I see happening is that the compromise that the Libertas.org is making for the church will continue to keep the rich rich, and it's not going to open up a level playing field in the marketplace in the cannabis industry. And why this is also important is this is sure to be $100 million industry. Hundreds of millions of dollars every year will be spent on medical cannabis. Why not open this opportunity up to local entrepreneurs, local farmers? Why not open it up to the free market? That's what conservatives are supposed to believe in. So I just a little bit of background about me. I'm a liberal libertarian. I'm a liberal in the classical liberal sense. I'm not going to get too far into that, but I believe in the free market. I believe that we should not have to choose a corporate job that we hate and stick with that job our entire lives because we need to feel subservient to corporations. Instead, we support the idea of Made in Utah products, which is a festival we put on. We're having our next one on December 14th if you want to come. And we believe that people should be able to have access to a free market where they're able to create their own wealth, to create their own lifestyle, and to enjoy all the benefits of freedom by not having to work for a corporate entity whose values you don't necessarily agree with. So to that ends, we support local entrepreneurs, farmers, makers, and that's really the mission and model of Utah Stories. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this first episode of the Utah Stories podcast. I'd love it if you would subscribe and share this episode. I would love it if more people got to know the ins and outs of medical marijuana and why this is such an important issue, why we need to tell our state legislators to keep the integrity of the original Proposition 2 intact and not to mutilate it with their ideas that only the biggest corporations should benefit from medical marijuana in Utah. Let's let them know that we are the people and we want this to be a free market solution. And that's my mission and goal with this. And so anyway, I hope to do another video where we talk to Libertas.org. I hope to do another video where we go in and delve into the history of this research that was done in the University of Utah and why it got squashed in 1949. With all those things, I need time to be able to do that. And the way I will definitely make time to do it is if I see this video get some traction with our readers and viewers. So thumbs up it, share it, all those things, subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. Have a great one.